Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to my Formula One channel. Welcome to Peter on Pole. My name is Peter in pole position. We're going to be talking all things Adrian Newey and the links with Aston Martin. Now, listen, when the news broke, I thought, this could be very, very interesting. I like the idea of Aston Martin, Adrian Newey going to somewhere new. Pardon the pun, of joining a different team where he can really get his hands back into the fold. And not that he isn't at Red Bull, but he's kind of done his work at Red Bull. This is a man who's been at Williams, he's been at McLaren, he's been doing some phenomenal stuff, okay, in Formula One. And to see where he is right now and to see that, honestly, he's like up there. He's the pinnacle of Formula One when it comes to the aerodynamics of building a Formula One car. It's a crazy one because obviously the rumor is that Lawrence Stroll, CEO, team principal, all of the above, owner of Aston Martin, is the one that has actually made this offer. Apparently, it's a lucrative offer, according to Autosport, which is quite a legit source in Formula One, especially if you're part of the Formula One world. But yes, apparently a deal has been made, or an offer has been made, rather, to Adrian Newey to have a look at things at the Aston Martin. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why would he even be involved in this? Why would he want to have anything to do with this? I mean, look, Red Bull at the moment, right? They've been going through their thing at this moment in time. It's fair to say this season in 2024. And Adrian Newey, like I mentioned earlier, he's done a lot for Red Bull since he's been there. I think he's been there since 2006, maybe 7. I can't remember now. But he's been there for a very, very long time. And you almost start to think, once you've been winning the championships, Max Verstappen, of course, has been winning his championships in recent years. He's also won championships with Sebastian Vettel in that Red Bull. But you must ask yourself, what next for Adrian Newey, if there even needs to be a what next. But indeed, what is next for Adrian Newey? What should he be looking at in terms of his Formula One career? Many times back in the day, especially when he was at McLaren under Ron Dennis, he was very much like, I want to go over here, I want to go over there, I want to try different things, boat sailing and all that kind of stuff. And, whether that was just because of the relationship dynamics with Ron Dennis and McLaren and Newey at the time, because at Red Bull, you didn't really hear much of that kind of conversation. But Red Bull is going through its moment at the minute, yeah. PR-wise, it's going through a lot at the moment. There's a lot of changes taking place, and ever since the passing of Dietrich Mateschitz, it's been a tough run for Red Bull. They've not quite been stable, and it was quite a sudden death as well. So it wasn't like Dietrich would have had things in place to sort of necessarily give to like almost like a will of like who's going where when this happens. And it's one of those where Red Bull have had to overcome quite a lot. And in that time, guys, they're still winning championships, okay? Constructors as well as drivers' championships. But the way 2024 has been for Red Bull, it's not been great. It's been a terrible year, if anything. And, Max Verstappen's being rumored to be elsewhere. And now you've got, of course, Adrian Newey's now been apparently offered a contract with Aston Martin. You almost think like, this is probably the right time to move. It's probably the right time to leave Red Bull because there's just too much going on there. You've been there, you've done that, you've bought the t-shirt, you've got your championships, several of them. I mean, you look at Sebastian Vettel's 4 championships, Max Verstappen's 3. There's just 7 championships right there in Red Bull alone. So you could argue, that Adrian might think, let's have a new challenge. Let's try something new. Aston Martin's a very interesting case. They're a very interesting case overall because what was always the potential small team of Force India, of Racing Point, Aston Martin kind of carries that kind of big status, that kind of a team that is ready to really, make its mark at the top guns. Look at Ferrari, look at Mercedes and Red Bull and say, look, we've arrived. And it's always been close. They've always been so close, but no cigar, if you will. I'm sure the progression under Lawrence Stroll has not been as much, it's not been, it's come slower than they would have liked. But Formula One is a process. Formula One takes time to build, and when it's time to strike, when the iron's hot, that's when you have your moment. And Aston Martin haven't been in that place where it's like, okay, this is the time to strike. They've been in that building process where sometimes they've got a few things wrong along the way, but the infrastructure, the talent, everything that's within that team is potential to become a real heavyweight in Formula One. And if you were to add a person like Adrian Newey, I mean, you would just be, you've already got Fernando Alonso as a driver there. Yeah. Lance Stroll, he has his critics. I'm kind of, Lance Stroll kind of makes me go left and right all season long because there's moments when I like him and I'm like, he is really good. He is really trying. And I've always said whenever he's on it, he performs. But it seems more often than not that he doesn't perform, and more often than not that he doesn't seem on it. Now, whether it's just because he's disappointed in interviews because of his reactions to races, he seems like a guy that doesn't want to be there. He's not bothered, and maybe he's just an emotional person who, when his race day hasn't gone well, when his race weekend hasn't gone well, he wears his heart on his sleeve. And if that's the case, fair enough. You know, I don't really have any bones to pick with that. But Aston Martin, as I said, it's a potential gold mine. I feel like there is potential in there. It looks serious. It's got all the appearance of seriousness. You know, it's got Fernando Alonso. Lawrence Stroll obviously is no mug. He throws money at the table to help the team progress. They've got good pieces in play. Last year in 2023 in Formula One, they kicked off the season like a house on fire, and we thought, oh my goodness, what are they getting up to? They've just built their new factory. And they're going to be having the Honda engine in 2026. So when you sort of look at the pieces that are moving around, wouldn't it be smart to get an Adrian Newey in maybe in 2025 to move into 2026 under the new regulations? That would be very, very interesting. And it's quite a deal. I must admit, I want to see happen. I want to see Adrian Newey join. I think he should join Aston Martin. Now, there might be a few things to think about, though, because Lawrence Stroll, as I said, no mug, and he's somebody who is he's a big character. He's a big personality, and Adrian Newey may not come across as somebody with a big personality, but my God, his CV, his portfolio, he has been here. He has done that in Formula One decades. Okay, so he will not be a yes man in Aston Martin, but we can see that Lawrence Stroll is clearly a boss in Aston Martin. So could there be a bit of friction in terms of how how they believe the team's going to need to progress in order to do well? What are the steps that they're going to take? There's going to be a lot of conversation, a lot of dynamic amongst the team. But I will say this, though. Fernando Alonso is at Aston Martin. And we can't just brush and say that lightly. Fernando Alonso is a very fiery character, a driver who, again, pedigree in Formula One, two-time Formula One world champion. So a man who knows his stuff. He knows his racing. And a man who will challenge all the time. He challenges those above him. He challenges his team. You know, we've seen him at Ferrari. As a McLaren fan, I've seen him at McLaren twice. I've seen him also at the Alpines. And all he does, he challenges. He challenges every single one. And some people don't like it because it kind of causes a bit of friction, or it might cause a bit of, it's one of those. But I think, genuinely speaking, the fact that Fernando Alonso can be under Lawrence Stroll, and I haven't really seen that much friction take place, and maybe it's happening, but I feel like they're probably both on the same side. Lawrence Stroll and Fernando Alonso seem like two people who are like, no, the standards must be high. What are we going to do to make these standards high? Whereas in previous organizations, I think Fernando Alonso has come across as ruffling feathers. But in this situation at Aston Martin, I don't think that's the case. Now, Alonso's contract is also up at the end of the season, and he's debating whether to stay in Aston Martin, whether to go elsewhere, whether to quit Formula One altogether. But if Adrian Newey steps to the plate, I mean, Fernando Alonso is extending that contract. Let's have it right. He's extending that contract because he knows the genius, the power that Adrian Newey has with the pen, with the pencil, whatever the case may be. And let's not think for a second that Lawrence Stroll is going to get all over micromanage Adrian Newey. I don't think that would happen at all. I think, in fact, there could be a great partnership and understanding here. I have a feeling that the way Lawrence Stroll will behave with an Adrian Newey is, here's a bag of money, Adrian. Go win me some championships. I'm not going to tell you how to do it because you know how to win championships, okay? You know how to win constructors championships. You know how to design a car for a driver of any talent, okay, of many talents, of any talent. When you look at the champions under Newey's belts, when you think about it, the Sebastian Vettels, the Mika Häkkinens, the Max Verstappens. When you think about these types of people, they're like three different types of drivers. So he knows how to design a car regardless of who the person's for, okay? And even other drivers who've had race wins, your Danny Ricciardo's, other people have had race wins under Adrian Newey, Sergio Perez included, people like that, right? You think, okay, well, he's clearly got something about him. He's clearly something he can do. I could literally see, like, it's almost like the Trinity, which would be Lawrence Stroll, Adrian Newey, Fernando Alonso. And I think like that could be something special. I definitely think Adrian Newey should consider it. I definitely think this is the time. If you're going to leave Red Bull, I know they're on the high, but I think if there's going to be a time, because you don't wait for it to go down in order to jump. You jump just before it goes down, where you think, okay, this could be the last year I could squeeze every ounce, every juice out of that car, and then I jump. And once I jump over to the next thing, then you'll see me riding off into the sunset in the Aston Martin. There is bags of potential in the Aston Martin, and it would be an absolute shame. It would be a crime to not see Aston Martin's potential be fulfilled. It would be an absolute crime. So I'd love to see Adrian Newey in Aston Martin. I think there are so many positives for him to join. And I think the negatives that people may have, the doubts that people may have between sort of the relationship between Newey, Lawrence Stroll, maybe Alonso, whoever, I don't think they're going to have too much friction. I think they're very like-minded. They're very much winners. The mentality is very much that of success, that of winning. You look at all three of them. I mean, even Lawrence Stroll, you could argue, okay, well, what's he done in Formula One? Never mind that. He's the owner of Aston Martin. You know, you're not a mug if you're going to be, mugs don't become owners of Aston Martin or people of that caliber, of that size. This guy bought, he went to put money in Williams, and Williams were mucking around. And if you're a Williams supporter, you must be looking at the Lawrence Stroll situation thinking, my goodness, we had something there in terms of assets, in terms of money, in terms of something that can help us build, okay? And Williams are on their own journey. They're doing their own thing, yeah? So they may not be crying too tough, but you still think it's a missed opportunity. But when you look at somebody like a Lawrence Stroll, you look at a Fernando Alonso, and you look at an Adrian Newey, serial winners there. And okay, Alonso hasn't won in ages, fine, but I think that's just down to the circumstances he's been put in. You put him in a Red Bull, he's going to win races. You put him in a fast car, Ferrari, he's going to win races. Okay, he should have never won races in the Ferrari when he was in there, and he was doing unbelievable work. It's criminal that he's a two-time champion, and two-time being the last time he won a championship was 2006. So this is a driver who clearly knows his stuff. Okay, if they could make this happen, if they could bring these together, that would be very, very interesting. What's in it for Adrian? Well, a brand new project. Imagine like he could go to another team and then do something special with that team. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't really need the legacy. He doesn't need anything else. He's done it. He's completed it. He's done it all. So I just feel like just to scratch his itch. And it might be a case of, let me take a year out. I don't want to be in Formula One. I've done my time. And then I'll come back because the itch will need to be scratched, okay? People in Formula One don't just leave and disappear into the sunset. They do sometimes, but sometimes they don't. I mean, look at Sebastian Vettel now. There's rumors about him now returning into Formula One. We'll talk about that another time. But, I feel like there is a lot to gain. I mean, if you don't think Adrian Newey's legacy is cemented, which is crazy if you don't, but he would go down as one of the most important figures in Formula One history. The drivers get all the plaudits, right? They get all the plaudits. But my God, what I love about Formula One, it's not just about the driver or about the racing as such. It's about the team. It's about the aerodynamics. It's about the engineering. It's about the technology. It's about all of these other things, these other components that you put together to make a great team. Because you can have the fastest car, right, on the grid, and you will not win the championship. That's the bizarreness of Formula One. You can have the best driver on the grid, and you're not winning championships. That's the crazy thing about Formula One. So Adrian Newey should definitely join Aston Martin. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Should he join Aston Martin? Do you agree with me? Should he be? Should he add another sort of medal to his set that he has? Because he's been far more as a general, one of the biggest icons, biggest legends in Formula One history. I think he should add it to his bow. Red Bull is a situation that looks a bit messy, and I would get out of there as soon as you probably can. And the Honda engine in 2026 is there. The equipment, the facilities is there, and the talent is definitely there. So Adrian Newey, do yourself a favor and get yourself